Sunday at Mike's. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me this evening or in the afternoon or morning, wherever you are on this planet. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Whether you're watching live or you're watching the rerun of this, I want to let you know that it is greatly appreciated that you take the time to do so. A little bit of housekeeping first. Just a reminder that we do have regular programming on this channel where I review different instruments, different devices, pedals. I talk about a wider range of subjects. Hey Ben, how you doing? So you're also welcome during the week to check in with the channel. If you're not getting your notifications, your bell notifications, I'm hearing that there's a little bit of problem with that. Just double check to make sure that you have that on, and so as soon as new content comes up, you're immediately notified. Okay, guys. Again, there are three channels that I said that I'm going to highlight with each live stream this month. That if you haven't checked out, I want you to go to. I'll put their names and how to links to them in the description down below as soon as this live stream is done. The first one is Black Boy in a Band. That's great, Ben. All's well with me. I actually had a really interesting weekend. I can't wait to tell you guys about something I saw last night. But Black Boy in a Band, you want to check out his channel. My good friend and good friend his channel, Peehand Shihtzu, you want to check out his channel as well. And the third one is our also good friend to the channel, Noodling Guitars. Again, links to these three channels will be in the description as soon as I can get them in there. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. And if you're subscribed to me, why don't you check them out and seriously think about subscribing to them as well. They are great channels, and I hope you take time to look at them. Really had a fantastic evening last night. I'll start out with I went to the concert hall here in Amsterdam to see the full orchestra play a live rendition of Star Wars Episode 4, The Return of the Jedi. And when I bought the tickets, I often go to the concert hall to see the full orchestra. From a production standpoint, it's really helped me a lot understanding string arrangements. From just an artistic standpoint, you can soak in a lot of really interesting things when you're sitting there listening to classical music performed by a full orchestra. It's quite something to check out if you haven't done it. So I thought it was just playing the music, but as it turns out, they were actually screening the movie. So on the big screen, which I've been in that concert hall, quite a few times, and I've never seen it with a big screen, but they had a full movie screen, and then the live orchestra pit below it, and they played the movie while the orchestra with the audio soundtrack with just the actor speaking without the music because the orchestra was playing the music, and they were hitting the cues right with each scene, and it was really something. And I had a box seat, so I was looking down at the conductor, and he had a Mac, and he was watching the musical cues. They were clicking off on his screen as to when to bring everybody in, and it was quite an interesting thing to behold. I'd never seen anything like it, and to see a movie that I saw originally back in 1983 in Los Angeles, Marina Del Rey, with my friend Patrick. My goodness, here just about 4 decades later, to be sitting in that concert hall watching the live orchestra playing the music. No, actually, Ben, it says here a box seat, somebody has some pull. No, actually, I got the tickets, they were assigned. You couldn't get assigned seats on that. I got lucky. And I'll be frank with you, that is the first time, and it was the bar. It was like, Richard Gere, in Pretty Woman kind of a seat. It was nice, looking right directly down at the orchestra, which And all the years that I've been going there, I've always sat down in the bottom on down in the floor. And so, yeah, that was something. But sit there and to see that was amazing. And if you guys ever get a chance to do that wherever you're at, to go and watch something like that, it's worth doing because it just made the film, which I love. You know, you guys, I think I've already indicated I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Big Star Wars fan, and just to be able to experience something like that was really amazing, and the orchestra was just phenomenal, really phenomenal, and I had a good time. And for me, it's just a 10-minute walk down the street for me. So that was even better. Because I had no idea. They show the whole movie. You know, I'm sitting there, oh, I'll get out of here in about an hour, hour and a half. Nah, I got out of there 10:30. And trust me, it was actually more closer to 11. And you do not want to be walking the streets of Amsterdam past 11 o'clock at night unless you've got business. Hey, I'm seeing you guys out there. Don't forget to hit that like button. Hit me up with those likes. Yeah, you do not want to do that. But here in the summertime, actually, it stays. It just now the sun just went down completely. In the summertime, it can stay light up until 11:30, going up to the summer solstice. So, yeah, a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. All right. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. I know that was you. um, thanks for that like. So today's subject, you know, this week I talked on the regular program about our Epiphones going stale. That was the gist of what I was talking about this week. And in order to really present that, and you know, there's a lot of YouTube videos now, a lot of content creators in this realm, music realm, that are talking about this same subject in varied fashions and degrees, different angles. But I really do research a great deal of something before I present it, whether it's a pedal, whether it's a subject like what's going on with Epiphone, in my opinion. Uh, I really deep dive into it, and I'm inclined to not fall into too many rabbit holes, so to speak, when I do this research, because you can really get into a lot of different, especially for example, uh, the whole Gibson versus Epiphone thing. You know, there's so many angles to that and so many opinions. But finally, I'm starting to see that there is a consensus that that some of the finer Epiphones are just as good as the Gibsons. Uh, even the Gibson guys are finally acknowledging that. So, but that really, there's a lot of different whole rabbit holes that you can go down when you're looking to something like that. When you're looking into it, an individual company like Epiphone, and you're going to make a statement, are they going stale? I guess you really have to start out by looking at what's going on at the Epiphone factory, which is what I did. And my research into what's going on at the Epiphone factory led into a wider search into what's going on with China. And again, it's just just some things that I wish I didn't know. I have more than a fair share of Spyro Gibson models, in my opinion. They are great. Yeah, you know they are. They are fantastic guitars. That factory in Guangzhou in China, which is in the Shandong province. If you think about provinces like states like Texas, California, New York, whatever, it's all part of China, but these different provinces. And right up here on the coastline, not Hong Kong is here. Well, here is Guangzhou and Guangzhou. Anyway, this is the Shandong province. My Chinese pronunciation is not as good as my Japanese. And if you know that, you know also that that area, that coastal area from Shanghai, Hong Kong, from Hong Kong, Shanghai going on up, message restricted. Uh-oh, you said something there they didn't like. Uh, sorry, I tried again another way, Ben. But that is where all the ports and everything comes out. So that's the reason why Epiphone built their factory there, because that's a manufacturing hub that's connected to a port. Now, when I started looking into the lockdowns that are occurring in China, I specifically looked to that region and tried to look up data on what the lockdowns were like in that area. And the information that I came back with is alarming. I don't think anybody on YouTube in this arena of music reviews and whatnot is really talking about what's really going on there. Uh, I made the statement, I believe, in the last video about basically how things were slowing down in terms of new model production or introducing new models, or even in the case of some of the existing models, the fact that the delays of getting stuff out was significant and took a long time. Here in Europe, Epiphone guitars were on back order. A lot of them are starting to come back in again, but I think that I'm starting to realize that this is a temporary blip, even the ones that are coming in now. The factory, as a matter of fact, the entire part of China is in lockdown, has been in lockdown, and is so bad that you understand when they lock down section by section, even neighborhood by neighborhood. And that means that there's no cars that are on the streets. That means there's no trucks. If there's no trucks, that means there's nobody to actually, even if they were doing full output at that factory, there's going to be no trucks to pick it up. Now, there's a limited amount of trucking that can occur, but it is very limited. And the drivers have to be tested, just like when they get to the ports. They can't actually go into the ports, and the guys that are on the ships offloading, they all have to be tested, and this all falls within some really strict testing. And therefore, the output just from the getting the product out of the factory standpoint is extremely slow to a trickle. To a trickle. That's just a fact. There's no getting around that. Now, of course, there are warehouses full of completed items. My newest Epiphone SG that I bought was a October of 2021 model, and I bought it. What was that? Was that March, May? May I bought it. So, you know, that still is a little dated. However, it indicates to me also surplus stock starting to go down. That's just the way that I read it. It's not as old as it could be. If it was a year out, then that would be concerning. But I think that whole stock is gone. Whatever they made now is being put out. Whatever they could put out is being put out. And I don't think that there's going to be a great deal of output after this. So the point of all this, this opening diatribe, if you guys would excuse me, that I'm getting to is that the output of Epiphones are going to be extremely limited. And I don't know what this is going to do going forward to the price of existing Epiphones, even in the secondhand market. I think that all of this also, and that's not even into the Lehman events that are starting to prop up in China as well. If they get to that point where you're seeing that kind of dramatic economic shifts happening in the credit markets, certainly in the manufacturing, we're seeing that it's almost non-existent because of the zero COVID policies they've had there, that you're going to see a extreme drop down in availability of product coming out of Epiphone. That's just, that's how it is. So I don't know what this is going to mean for the secondhand market going forward, I can imagine that you will not see the prices of your secondhand Epiphones go down. As a matter of fact, we're seeing that the prices of Epiphones are actually stabilizing. Usually, when you buy one, and we'll talk about, we'll go from the 50s to the 60s inspired, the Epiphone SG inspired, the really nice one, the SG that I purchased, and of course the 59, the Lazarus. We're talking about in that range. Those are holding their prices, even in the secondhand market. And in the case of the 59, the Lazarus, and all those other ones, there are people who are actively looking for them, but they're not available. And the reason they're not available, again, like I said, is because the output at the factory is negligible, and there's no other way it could be. Even if everybody who worked there said, okay, we'll stay inside the factory, we'll live here, we'll eat here, we'll sleep here, and we'll work here, there's still not enough services to come and deliver that product from the factory down to the ports. It's not a long distance because it is a port area, but still. So, alarming news that I discovered digging into that subject of Epiphone last week. That it could really, you could see just a trickle of them coming through going forward. And that leads to tonight's main subject. Oh, thanks for the up. Hey, I see 6 of you out there. If you're watching, hit that like button. I appreciate it. Gotta get those likes. So that leads to that whole opening monologue, diatribe, as I call, was to lead to tonight's real subject was, as you saw in the title, when am I good? When is it time to say I'm good? And what do I mean by that? On this channel, I talked about the importance of really, as far as instruments are concerned, to not get caught up into being a collector. If you are a collector, if you find yourself in a room where you've got 30 or 40 guitars, first of all, I hope you don't live in earthquake country. Second of all, just overkill. We're moving into some lean times here. And if you're good with where you're at, if you look around and you look at your guitars and your bass and even pedals, things like that, and you say to yourself, well, I have a hole here that I need to fill. I've said this before, but I will say it again. Now is the time to fill that hole. You either, and I would also caution you to sit back and ask yourself, is this a hole that necessarily I need to be filling? The secret to stop, getting into a hole is to stop digging. So you might want to ask yourself, am I good? Am I good? See, I'm good. I consider myself at this point, thank you guys for the likes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I consider myself to be in a good spot. I enjoy the guitars that I have, and I in no way, shape, or form feel the desire. I flip through every week. This is my job. One of my jobs is to research new guitars so that I can bring it to you guys and talk about them. Hey, welcome to the live stream. First time. You're always welcome. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. We're talking about are we good with what we have? And this is a personal assessment, guys. I'm saying that I myself have done a personal assessment, and if this was all that I had to deal with for the next 5 years, let's say, if things just went south for the next 5 years, would I be happy? And the answer is absolutely yes. But it has taken time for me, the process of buying and selling and going through a lot of stuff to get to the point where I have the things that I'm happy with. So it's a personal assessment that you have to do. You have to ask yourself, do you look around and say to yourself, am I good? And if you're not, I'm saying to you, especially in light of what I've told you about what's going on in China, which I remind you, A lot of these pedals, a lot of these amps, a lot of outboard gear, a lot of stuff is coming out of China. That's just the nature of the beast. And yes, they are trying to move that trade from China over to India now. However, that's a process that I can't wait for that discussion to come up. It's like which Epiphones are better, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, or the Indian Epiphones? I consistently see new guitars that grab my attention. I have examined myself too. I don't need anything. Yeah, Mickey. Yeah, you're surrounded by, and that's the psychology of it too. We've talked about that. I've warned you guys about Bernays, uh, uh, the psychology of the consumer, and I'll tell you another story. I wasn't even going to get into this, but this is all connected in as well. I got offered a free. This company contacted me first time. Said we like your YouTube channel. We like what you're doing. We have this wireless guitar system we're going to send to you, and we'd like you to review it. And you know, I've seen cats who say this company gave me this guitar. Literally, I just watched. I won't say who he is, but just a week or two ago, YouTube channel. He says, "Yeah, Gibson gave me this guitar, but they didn't pay me anything for this review." Well, yeah, they did. They gave you that $2,700 guitar that, if you want to, you could take down to the shop and in exchange for cash or Bitcoin or whatever you're into. They paid you. And I kind of had a moral quandary that I had to deal with for the first time there. Is if I take this device, this wireless system from these people, I have to review it, and boy, did they lay out in their brief exactly how they wanted it shot, how many times you had to mention it, how many times you had to, do this at this angle, this or the other. And I just couldn't bring myself, I drug it on. So I asked them so many questions. I think they got tired with me. They were like, "Oh, no, never mind. We're good." Because I can't do it. Because I don't think that I would be able to review something, honestly. And again, so even in that regard, I bring that story up to show you guys that I'm serious about it. I'm not, they offer me free stuff and then I come here and I review it. I'm not being really honest to you, and I don't want to do that. But I'm being honest with you constantly with my thoughts. I'm being an open book. And I'm saying to you that if you have a hole, fill it now. If you're looking around and you're saying to yourself, "I'm good," stay good. Don't fall for marketing. Don't fall for Bernays. Don't fall for the YouTube guys who say, "Hey, look at this great thing that probably they got for free, and they're pushing it on to you to buy," and ask yourself, is that something that I really need? Including me. See, when I do reviews, I say, this is this and this is this. Listen to it. I think this is good. I really try to avoid YouTube channels that have paid reviews. How often do you see, exactly, how often do you see a bad review on a channel that's being paid? I mean, you can't, because if once you step into that game, I believe this. I believe it. Once you step into that game, just got a new telly. I'm good. Yes, sir. God, he just said telly, which I will grant it to you. A telly is a slight hole I had to fill, but not enough for me to be serious about it. No, you just don't know. And that's marketing. That's a part of it too. So be wary of that as well. There's guys that are going to push stuff that they get for free. I won't do it. If I bought it and I think it's good, and I say to you, "Hey man, you guys should check this out," like this cheap little Harley Benton pedal bass DI that nobody ever talks about. I've had $500, $600, $700 bass DIs. This little one for $80 is the best. This is all you need in studio. If you're gonna go DI with your bass guitar, just pick one of these up. And I paid for it. I didn't know what it was. I A and B'd it against the Marcus Miller bass head that I had, DI that I bought in Singapore, and I just came out that was better. And that was an honest review. Because I'm always looking at what's that lower. I'm also always trying to find that cheaper alternative as well, not just for myself, but also for you guys. Say, hey, this is cheaper, but it works just as good. If you don't care about the label headstock or things like that, then you'll see the value of that. But yeah, don't fall into that Bernays and that marketing. If you look around at your current situation and you say to yourself, "I'm good," chances are you probably are. You're going to be inundated with as you know you're going to get inundated with a lot more stuff because the definition of a stagflation market, vintage Marshall blues breaker pedal, yeah. But even with that blues breaker, I think that I got it at a good price. Would I buy it now at the current price? I don't know. I would miss out on that. That gets into another thing too, because that actually does what as advertised. It's actually worth the money, but you have it's not cheap, and that's another thing. Yeah, got the Blues Breaker, love it. Glad I got it, but don't fall for the marketing, guys. Look around at your stuff and say to yourself that you're good. And why do I say this? Because again, I look across the landscape at things and I don't see good things coming. And it would be remiss of me to sit here and push things on you if I knew that you probably want to be as frugal as possible going forward. You want to look at your instruments that you have and make sure that they are in good upkeep. So if it's been a while that you've taken your instruments in and you've had them checked out by a luthier, or if you know how to do it yourself, that you've actually taken the time to do it. If you got 30 of them, that could take some time. If you only got one or two, it's a little bit easier. But look at the stuff that you have and keep it in good shape. One of the fantastic things that I learned living in Japan for 18 years, cumulatively, not all at once, but cumulatively, 18 years in Japan, is how they keep things. A Japanese used guitar is as good as American new because they take that instrument, they take it home. My guitar friend, he had a guitar rack where he had silk. He would place silk over his guitars at night. I myself, with these, I don't have a case for this bass guitar, but all my other instruments, they go into their cases at night. I put them out on the stands out there. Sometimes we shoot videos, but for the most part, if it's not being played, it stays in its case to keep it nice. So keep the stuff that you have nice, keep it maintained. If you need to take it in to get some work done on it, do that. Do that. Again, the theme of today's show is, am I good? And so it's an assessment time. It's a time to take an assessment of what you have, and also that if there's something you're going to sell, if there's a trade that you want to make, this would be the time to do it. Actually, yesterday would be the time to do it. But if you put it off because you had other things you had to deal with, you might want to put it on the front burner. I keep all my guitars tip top, and they never let me down. Yes, sir, that's correct. Because you want to make sure that you keep your instruments in good quality. When I sat there last night and I watched the Amsterdam Philharmonic, man, I spent over $5,000 on 3 Gibson guitars last year. I didn't read all that. Sorry, I didn't catch all that. But there's nothing wrong with Gibsons. I just saw a YouTube channel that just posted where he found the pubic hair that had been lacquered into the top of his brand new Gibson. Yeah, look it up. The guy, I love his channel. He's a very intelligent guy, but he bought a new Gibson and they this literally shows that there's a pubic hair lacquered into the top. Needless to say, he's sending it back. I saw that, yeah, KDH. Yeah, KDH. It cracked me up. Can you imagine spending that kind of money on a new Gibson and they got the hair lacquered into the top of your guitar. I mean, what is going? Who is the QC person at Gibson, Mr. Magoo? You really got to ask, how does something like that pass by? It's hilarious. Yeah, look at the guitars that you guys have. Really sit there and make an assessment. He spent $2,000 on it. Over $2,000 on that. Imagine that and getting a pubic hair, man. I guess it's new. It's Gibson's new like what Neanderthal line. That is just too much. And the fact that there was some guy in the spray room that wasn't wearing, what he needed to wear in order to prevent that from happening, that is amazing to me. I don't know what's more amazing, that or the fact that it got by a QC supposedly, and somebody spent their hard-earned money, because $2,000 is a lot of money, kids. Do a lot of damage here in one night in Amsterdam with $2,000, trust me. So yeah, that was hilarious. Do an assessment of your instruments, guys. Check them out, take them out of their cases, check them out, make sure they're in good shape, and keep them that way. Keep an eye, if you're looking to buy right now, do it. I'm just saying to you that probably your best bet is to hold on to your chips. I would take the money, unless you absolutely need to buy it right now. I would take all my chips off the table and I would hold off, because things are going south in China real fast, real fast. You guys should really take the time to look into that. I know your days are busy, but it is alarming, and so many things, pedals, amps, guitars, basses come out of that manufacturing base that at this point right now is next to non-existent. And if that sounds like a hyperbole to you, I'm not exaggerating in any. You can look it up yourself. It's not there. And the stuff that you're seeing in the stores right now, let's see how much is in the stores come this October, November, December. Let's really dig that. Let's see. I'll make a prediction. Not or less or next to zero. I've been lucky enough to try to get Gibsons before price hikes. Yeah, and for sale. Yes, the price hikes are another consideration too. They're only going to continue. There was 2 price hikes for Gibsons within the last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. Within the last 12 months, 2 price hikes with Gibsons and Epiphones. Or at least Gibsons, I know of. Epiphone, I know 1. There's always this stealth hike of inflation with your purchasing power. Yeah, guys, that's my message tonight. So that's what I was talking about, am I good? So I want you all to take the time to sit back. I like the U.S. I live in the U.S. I've been waiting for a Yamaha RevStar for months. Yeah, they have their price. Yeah, guys. That's what I'm saying. That and for God's sake, do not place a pre-order for anything that you know has got to be shipped from overseas. Don't do it. Don't do it. Wait in the shops and see if they come in. That's why I've said have that cash on the side. Literally have it in hand, so that if you see what you're looking for and it does show up in the shop or online, boom, you're ready to pull the trigger on it. But even then, be careful, because you really have to ask yourself, how long has this thing been sitting around? The Les Paul Classic saw the largest increase. And I believe it's because of, I agree. It's the components. Again, we're also talking about the individual components, the circuit boards, the nuts, the bridges, the pots, the caps, the tuners. all those things that are manufactured there, and all those different factories within that one district has been clamped down on in ways that you guys can't even fathom. You don't understand what a lockdown. I went through a true lockdown when I lived in Singapore, where I couldn't leave my house for a 1 month period. Couldn't leave my house. You could leave, one representative of the family could leave the house to get food. That was me, uh, and that was at least you could go get food. In China, these lockdowns they're having, you can't even do that. They bring you it, and what they bring you, trust me, you don't want to eat. So the severity of it is alarming. And I don't think anybody on YouTube is really talking about the fact that I honestly don't see how they could be producing much out of the Epiphone factory. I really don't at all. And I don't see how they're relying on their past stocks. Sure, they have a warehouse full of completed guitars, but what happens when that inventory is gone? You know, and then it takes time to get those as was just being pointed out with the individual components. It takes time to get those factories that have been basically shut down going again. It's not just where they turn in, flip the lights on, and say, "Okay, boys, let's get back to work." No, it takes. You got to do retooling. You're going to have problems with stuff coming in, the raw materials as well, because they and those factories too are getting their act back together again. They're literally welding doors shut in apartment buildings in China. Yeah, yeah, guys. They're like I said, in the West, the lockdown that I had here in Amsterdam was a breeze compared to the one that I experienced in Singapore. Well, that's what yeah, so maybe by used. Let me get to that point. But my lockdown in Singapore was a walk in the park compared to what's going on there. The secondhand market, buying used. Again, I haven't found any shops here in the UK fully stocked and don't think they will for a long time, but the secondhand market is booming. So there again, for years you Epiphone owners got dogged. Oh man, if you buy an Epiphone, you might as well give it away when you're done because nobody's going to buy their trash. You're not going to get what you paid for it and all that. Well, guess what? How now, brown cow? That song has changed, hasn't it? Because the secondhand market is just going to increase. Look, there's still going to be cats who want to start guitar, who are they're turning 13, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, and they're saying to mom and dad or whatever, their buddies, hey, I want to get into playing guitar. And the entry-level guitar always was an Epiphone. And that's true in Asia, the United States, and Europe. I've lived in all three countries now. I can tell you that that's a fact. These cats, when they go down to, Long and McQuaid, is that what it's called there in Canada? Or the Guitar Center in the States? Music go around near me in Pennsylvania is amazing, great staff. Yeah, it's great that you can go to a store. And that's the other point. You really want to go to the store, don't buy online. But when these stores really, Long and McQuaid's, the Guitar Centers and all that nature, guys, they're not going to have the stock. And you're going to have to go to the secondhand market, which is going to put you on reverb with their issues in terms of how much they're charging on their rates, and to God knows where else, whatever it is your system, and that kind of demand, as I was starting to get into explaining stagflation, where you have fewer products chasing more money. But you're seeing a downregression in wages, or inflation in wages. You're breeding a perfect storm for the secondhand market to finally take that bump up that we've been talking about. Now, there's a lot of guitars out there in the wings of the. Yeah. There's different things, Ben, that you can use. Whatever your way of going about it, but that secondhand market, before I lose that train of thought, is really going to explode here. And so if you're going to sell, that's how I was saying, now may be the time to sell. I jokingly said it was actually yesterday, but in actuality, now is the time going forward because that secondhand market and Epiphones especially, it's not going down in price. As a matter of fact, you can effectively say you'll get within 20%, maybe if you're lucky, 15% of your actual purchasing price, which for an Epiphone these days that was unheard of years ago. If I put my 59 kit on the market right now, I could get pretty close to the ballpark of what I paid for the ask. I wouldn't do it, but I know I could get my money back on it essentially, and whatever I lost on it, I could write that off of, well, at least I had it and I was able to rent it for that amount of money, that difference of loss for that period of time. Musical round is 90% used gear. I've never bought a guitar sight unseen on the internet with, the sight unseen thing on the internet. Boy, you get your pew pair guitars coming in when you do that, don't you? That'll learn you. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, guys. I mean, anymore. I mean, I wouldn't. Okay, no, I'm being facetious. I'll buy guitars from Thomann because I can send them back. They're right next door here to me in Germany, so it's no sweat. But I wouldn't buy anything that was shipping international. Wouldn't do it. Sounds like a great place. You're lucky. Yeah. Yeah. I've had a fortunate turn being here, but yeah, guys, really. uh, I recently sold my limited edition Harley Benn Les Paul for more than I paid for. Yeah, wow, Mickey, that's deep. So you're telling me that you got more Harley? Yeah, that secondhand market in these so-called inexpensive guitars, they're going to get snapped up because that's all that's going to be out there. I don't know how long that's going to last. Again, like I said, a lot of these companies have to now, if this market gets too difficult, then they have to move their manufacturing base to another country. And right now, Music Go Round is a franchise chains. They're all over the U.S. Yeah, I know Music Go Round. I'm familiar with them, Michael. But Epiphone would have to move its factory over to India. That's where everybody's shifting out of China. They're shifting right now into India. However, that takes time. And think of how many years it took for Epiphone to get to the point where they are now, where me who thought that Epiphones were bunk, 10 years ago. Now I'm here with a YouTube channel telling you that there's some great, great guitars that can be had out of Epiphone. And if they have to shut that operation down and move to another place and retool, retrain, and do all that, their quality is going to dip down as well. And then we're going to get back to Epiphones are crap. Those Indian Epiphones aren't as good as the Chinese ones. And that'll go for 10 years. And then they'll get their act together. And then they'll say, hey, you know what? These Indian Epiphones are getting pretty good now. I've seen some newer brands being made. But yeah, Vietnam and Indonesia are the two markets. My Harley Benn, the one that I love so much, the SC Custom, is made in Indonesia. And the quality, the build on that guitar is excellent. So the Court plant is in Indonesia, has been building instruments forever. Yeah, since I was a kid. Yeah. Court, I know about that. I told you guys, my first. I'm so glad you said that. Somebody out there who knows Court. Because back in the 70s when I was, turning of age, my instruments were chord basses and guitars. I learned how to play bass on chord. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That is actually my first donation. I don't even know what it's called, guys. I'm sorry, guys. I have to take this. I just got $5. Thank you so much. I've never had that happen before. You're the first for this channel ever. God bless you for that. That's fantastic. Yeah, chord rules, guys. That's how I learned. My friend Brian McKnight, who I told you is a multi-instrumentalist, that song Party at Ground Zero by, anyway, Party at Ground Zero, the trombone part, that's my friend John. And his garage is where we went to, where I learned to play drums and bass guitar because we had all the instruments, and the majority of the instruments were chord instruments. So yeah, Quart's been around for 50 years. They've been producing quality instruments in those regions of the world for 5 decades now, as was pointed out. And really, that is the way things are going. The China thing is going south. It's going south real fast, guys. And I don't think anybody else on YouTube has pointed this out. Again, my background in let's just say that I understand economics very well. Court made guitars for so many names. Yeah, but they had their own Court brand. The bass guitar that John had that I learned bass on was a Court C-O-R-T bass. The guitar, which was a headless guitar, in basically a cigar box shape, that was a Court guitar with Court branding on it. So they had their own Court stuff that they had. And that's what I learned on. Things are going south there in that manufacturing zone, folks. I see 11 of you out there. I don't see but 6 likes up here. Gotta hit those likes, guys. Hit them likes, hit those likes. There's this channel, this lady that I watch. She doesn't hit the likes. She's so cute. I don't think I can be cute enough to beat her. I have an Upper Phone Genesis model from 1980 that were built in Taiwan. Yeah, the Japanese, the Taiwan, a lot of those the Japanese ones are excellent. We all know that. But the point is, guys, is that with China going south and the fact that they can't produce anything right now because the government is saying nobody can go to work. Nobody can go to the factories. Nobody can drive the trucks to take the stuff from the factories to the ports. And when you get to the ports, it's a boondoggle there. What I'm saying is with that situation going south, you are going to see a stagnation like you've never seen before in the new guitar market for people who are producing guitars in China. Now, for the U.S. manufacturers like Gibson USA, if any of their components come from there, they're going to have to redirect, which I'm sure they've done by now. But you're just going to see those prices of those guitars skyrocket. If you thought $2,700 for, and as is pointing out, the Les Paul Classics, which used to be a deal. Those are fantastic guitars, but my goodness, now they've hit up there as well. You're going to see the prices. Everything is interconnected, guys. That's the thing. Everything is interconnected, and that's the picture that I'm trying to draw for you tonight in our discussion. Got 11 people watching, 8 up likes. I got myself a I got myself a $5 donation for the first time. I guess they call it super chat. Or a donation anyway. This couldn't be a better night. That's amazing. I am so thankful for that. I'm thankful for all of you guys. I own 7 electrics, 2 acoustics, and 5-string bass set. Calvin Kit 20 years ago. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. And that's the word, guys. That's the word. I'm good. I want all 12 of you watching now, and everybody, the other 100 or so that pick up during the week that watch this on the rebroadcast, I really want you to ask yourself, am I good? And I'm saying this actually from just, this is Mike talking to you guys. Ben, Mike, Mickey, I'm talking to you guys. I'm good. Mickey, yeah, I'm just having a conversation. If you guys were here in the room with me right now and we could all just have this together, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mr. Alvarez. That is a blessing. I would say the same thing. I would say really, guys, ask yourself, are you good? And I really want you to make that kind of kind of assessment and say to yourself, am I good? If you're not good, then think about if it's really something that you need to have. If it's something you got to have, then really look into making that move if you can. I'm good too. I have a little Black Star amp, a gold top LP, a Black Star amp and a gold top LP. Man, what else do you need? Don't need anything else. I myself, I got, my Laney amp. And, you're going to have to take that amp from my cold, dead hands. I think for a while I liked buying pedals and things, but for guitars, I have no plans. Yeah, the big ticket items are something, and these pedals are starting to get to be big ticket items as well. Those Universal Audios, I own a Classic and 60 Standard both for 2020, honestly. They feel the same. They play the same the way as within a few. Yeah. Like I said, guys, don't get into the Bernayses. Don't buy that. You are not missing anything with the 60 Standard from Epiphone versus the 60 Standard from Gibson. You're not missing anything. I'm not saying that the construction of the guitar is better. That's not it. I'm just saying that the pickups in your amp are 80 and are 50 and 50% of your game. I always say the pickups on the guitar is 80% of your game, but in the whole signal chain, 50% of it is your pickups. The other 50% is the amp or the cone that you're paying through. That's it. It doesn't matter if you're playing, an electric toothbrush. As long as you got good pickups in it and your amp is good, you're good. And it doesn't matter if it says Harley Benton on the headstock or Gibson or Fender or whatever, you're good. Yeah, I got a Bandit as well. Good enough for me. Yeah, My Uncle Carlton, who was a guitar player for Fats Domino and a lot of other people, professional for his entire life, and I were speaking, and I was looking at his amp collection. So true pickups on amp are 90% of the game. Yeah, that other 10%, well, okay, 20, it's 30, 30, 30, it's 30, 30, and 40. It's like 30% pickups, 30% the amp, the other 40% is you. They're not going to play themselves. Well, my Uncle Carlton, he would ask me to assess his amps, and he's got some old vintage Fender amps. And I said, Uncle Carlton, you're good. You're good. You don't need anything. And, and good speakers. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The cone that you're playing through. I traded a gold coin that I guarantee you is worth now more than when I first got it and traded it for 4 vintage greenbacks. I'm beyond good. I have an actual collection of Marshall. There you go. If you've got a collection of Marshall amps, you're good. Johan's channel, he's up here in Sweden. I've had conversations with him. He's always showing off his Marshall amps. He's also showing off variations of newer and older Marshalls, and we always talk about how good things are, in the Marshall area. If you got a good Marshall, you really only need one. To have a collection of them, you're good. You're good, guys. Fight that urge to get that. I love greenbacks, yeah. I traded green for 4 vintage greenbacks. That's how serious I was about getting a particular sound. If you sit back and you say to yourself, I'm good, if you make that assessment and you're good, it's not just knowing you're good, it's fighting that urge to just, oh man, that UA Audio Ruby pedal just came out, and oh man, I really want that $400 thing, but that's a $400 thing, guys. That's not inexpensive, that's not cheap. it's pedals are, I was getting into the point that pedals are not the inexpensive things that they used to be. Sure, you can get something like this tiny spring. Johan, he's an odd child. Yeah, Johan is Johan is a great channel. That guy is the only one that I've known who has taken from 56 through the 2000s of Les Pauls and played them and demoed them so that you could hear. Banded, yeah, my Uncle Carlton has that same amp, that PV. Same one. And also some Fender amps as well. So I'm familiar with that. But Johan really is a cool channel. Guys, stuff like this, these inexpensive pedals, and even this $50 US. Even the days of these pedals, I think, is going to go, because a lot of the components, again, everything comes back to that supply chain, the housing, the plastic for the knobs, the metal for the switches, the circuit board. All of that is made in China. This is a Chinese-made device that the factory that produces these right now are shut down. They both have vintage 30s. Vintage 30s are great. You know, one of these days, if I ever do, I have a 1x12. I have 4 vintage Celestians, and I only have one of them that I'm using. The other 3 are sitting in boxes. But if I ever get the nerve up to get a 2x12, I like to put a vintage Celestian greenback on one side and a vintage 30 in the other. I think that sound combination would be very nice. But getting back to this, guys, all the components for this are made in China. So your days, I used to collect Charlie Stringers, Stalling Dogs pedals. I like having them. Again, but the thing is, these are Chinese-made pedals, and the cost of these, if are going to go up for the ones that you can get, if the availability on them are there at all. Supply chain, guys. Supply chain. It's what I'm preaching about tonight. That's what I'm talking about. I want you to be aware of this. We have busy weeks. We have our families. We have our jobs. We have things that we have to look into, and there's so much other stuff coming into us, and maybe there's something going on over here that's just a little ice ball sliding down a cliff that turns into an avalanche that eventually buries our village. I still collect older Digitech pedals. Yeah, but used prices have shot up on those. I'm surprised. I looked up the price on my Digitech pedal to see what it was going for right now. And yeah, those things are actually getting up there again. They dipped down and it's going up. Secondhand market, guy. All these tertiary, all these secondary, all these supply chains, all of these factors, all these things form that snowball that turns into an avalanche that will hit you. And you're starting to see it now, and it's not going to improve. So something to be aware of. I'm glad to have the time to bring this to your attention and discuss it with you. If you were here in my house, sitting here in my studio, we would have this same discussion. I would tell you the same thing from my heart, that I see a bad moon rising. You guys know that song? I see a bad moon rising. I see trouble on its way. So ask yourself if you're good. Resist the urge to buy anything else that's unnecessarily if you're not good. I mean, if you are good. And if you're not good, make yourself as good as cheaply and quickly as possible, is all I'm trying to say. All right, that is it for tonight's broadcast. All 11 of you who showed up and hung in there for the whole hour, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate getting my first $5 super chat there. Mr. Alvarez, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I want to remind you guys that there are 3 channels that we're trying to build up. We're trying to get these channels to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can, all of us, start feeding into, I hope, a collective group where we're all talking and we're sharing different perspectives and different kinds of music from different parts of this world. The first one is our good channel friend. Thanks, Ben. Thank you so much. Peehand Shihtzu. Hey, thank you, guys. Drink coffee in Australia. I've done that, sir. I don't know when I'll be able to do it again, but coffee in Sydney is a good thing to do in the morning. Peehand Shihtzu, Noodling Guitars, and Black Boy in a Band. I will put the links to their channels in the description down below after I'm done with this live stream. Check those channels out. Drinking lemon tea in Yorkshire, England. Well, guys, I'm ready to go have a hot glass of milk in bed in Amsterdam. Yeah, Mike, thanks. I enjoyed having you guys here. We're going to do this again next Sunday. Until that time, each and every one of you, please take care of yourselves. Please be safe out there. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch. You guys take care. Bye-bye, guys. See ya.